Hello, everyone. This is Carmel here from Carmel's Garden, and I am so thrilled that I have most of my authors, not all of my authors, and we are here live celebrating Courageous Voices Unlocked. This is our new book, and it is the sequel to The Artist Haven, which we launched last year. And we have a series called Journey to Wholeness. And today I have my beautiful editor, Stephanie, on with us. Stephanie has stepped up into that position this year with Courageous Voices Unlocked. And let me tell you, folks, Stephanie, every author has raved about how fabulous Stephanie is and how she has supported each one of us to get our story out. And this year as well, we have a new formatter, and we have Melvise, she with Written Word Publishing. She has come on board, and we have just worked so well together with Stephanie, myself, and Melvise. Melvise has just taken months of extra work off me with producing this book. It went number one in multiple categories, and we just feel so grateful that that has happened. And we have published our book on Ingram Spark. It's going up on Barnes and Noble. It's going around the world. I'm going to look at a Coorong in Australia to get the book out there, and local bookstores here in Australia. You can buy our book as well through Written Word Publishing through Melvise in the USA. So if you're wanting to get your hands on a copy of our book, you can go through her as well. She is supporting me. And then I'm going to have a link as well for people to buy through Australia. We're doing a local launch as well, which is pretty exciting. We're inviting Shona Rubin down from Sydney and Catherine and I, and we're going to go to our local library, and we're going to have the town band and a choir singing. So we're looking at doing that early next year. So there's so many different things happening. I know with the Artist Haven last year, Doris did a launch in her local shop. Gushi has our book in her local shop. Deanne did some great advertising with that as well. And I know that Stephanie is going to a conference shortly too, and she's taking the Artist Haven to that as well to promote with all of her other books. So first, I want to just say congratulations to all of our authors, our first-time authors who have become international best-selling authors. And not just that, you've the first time that you've written your story and that we've come together as a team. This is a co-author book, folks, but it's very unique. We have linked chapters, and every chapter, God just brings it together, and he links all of our stories together, and we come up with a very unique book. But I just feel incredibly blessed. Not only am I the visionary and lead author of this book, behind me there is a painting that I painted that our precious Doris and I brainstormed together. And then I went into my girlfriend's art shop who's in the Artist Haven. I painted that. And then here we are. I'm holding it in my hands, folks. And I feel incredibly blessed and privileged. And not only that, I've got the hardcover as well in my hands, and I haven't been able to get the hardcover yet with the Artist Haven. So to have all that on launch day, I feel incredibly blessed. And folks, we've just been chatting before we came on live, and we've been encouraging each other, meeting each other, connecting with each other, and I just feel my heart is so full. We planned to have our launch party last week, but I'd been very sick, and all of my beautiful authors have been praying for me and encouraging me. And now I'm going to hand it over to Stephanie, because I know I'm starting to lose my voice. So Stephanie, I just want you to come on and share a little bit about your chapter and your journey as our editor, and of course, as my great support all the way with the Artist Haven and now Courageous Voices Unlocked. Thank you, Stephanie.
Absolutely. All right. So I think we all could just kind of like breathe in and then like breathe out, right? Like
Yeah.
we did it. We did it not only in terms of we did the hard thing and we wrote it out, but we also put it up there. We got international bestseller, and now like here we are. And so I think just breathing in and breathing out is huge. And I know from my experience as the editor in this book, particularly, it was a beautiful way for me to be able to read everyone's stories and to just be inspired by them myself. And actually, as Carmel was talking, I just wrote down these words, and I don't know if they're for any of my co-authors or for Malvise or for those of you that will be watching, but just here is what I just kind of received, and I hope you can receive it as well. You never know the power your words will have until you have the courage to write them down. And so I think that's not only power for your words ministering to you and healing you, but I think that's power for others. And I think that all of us have been such a beautiful example of just sharing that boldness and being courageous in that way. My chapter particularly, I zoned in on a piece of my story that I talk about in my own book, Butterfly Blueprint, the book that I published in 2020, a solo book. But I zoomed in on a piece, and it's always those pieces that God's like, yeah, I know, but you kind of brush over that part of your testimony. Can you go back to that? And I'm like, are you sure? Can I just go to this side? I mean, I'm a mom with three young kids. It's hashtag struggle bus all the time. Can I go on that? And he's like, no, no, no. Go back to, I might get emotional, go back to where you were so hungry and thirsty for love that you were trying to fill that God-sized hole with anything and everything you could get your hands on. Go back to that place where you were looking for love in the wrong places. And so you were settling for tacos and for shoes, and go back to that place where you then were able to be received and redeemed by the good news. And so my story, my little chapter is called Tacos, Shoes, and the Good News, a redemption story. And it very much is the where God met me and he pursued me and he didn't let go of me. And just the story of where I was to where I am now. And so just a beautiful testament to God's grace, God's relentless pursuit of our heart. And so that's really just a piece of my heart and that part of my story that I didn't really want to share, but that part that God's like, no, I want you to take it. And not only has he asked me to take it, he's asked me to amplify it. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be honest with you. Like, can I just keep it here in this book? And no, I mean, I've had multiple people, Doris, for example, she's been like, you need to tell this. This needs to become like a platform message. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. But with God, never say never. And so, yeah, I think to just kind of wrap everything up I've said, if there's one thing I say as an editor and as an author, working with Carmel, even with the dream team, is the need for you to share your story is greater than the need for you to stay guarded. So I will always champion and partner with Carmel to help other authors, writers. People don't even call themselves writers until they write a book. Shona Robin, I'm looking at you, in looking into being able to partner with God and being able to partner with the message that he's given us and placed on our heart. So that is all I have.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. She's just a champion. And I know Stephanie really struggled with her writing her story. I spent a lot of time with her, mentoring her and encouraging her, and I actually was like the mother hen going, oh, I don't know whether, I want to make sure she was safe, and and I encouraged her as well that you when you're in a group and you can get up and share more intimate details, you can say more, but when we put it in the book, I want to make sure she's safe as well. So we went through all that, didn't we, Stephanie? And then I know, reflecting on Doris's story, we were saying, Doris, darling, where is your story? And she was struggling. So, Doris, do you want to come and share a little bit about the journey with Courageous Voices and what
Yes.
you went through with writing your chapter in our book?
Yes, it'd be my pleasure. It wasn't my pleasure for that 2 week span of time when I was writing my manuscript. It's not, I love to write, so I'm passionate about writing. Writing actually comes fairly easy, as y'all know, because we tend to have to cut like thousands of words from my manuscripts. So I love writing. However, fear tried to come on me and I just would not receive it. And it was because I was talking about, it was actually a situation that I had thought for several years needed to be told, not because I wanted to expose anybody or embarrass or humiliate anyone. That's not what this is about. As a matter of fact, I almost overcompensate to make sure I don't expose anyone. I don't want to expose anyone. That's between them and God, you know. He's my vindicator. But I got concerned that the players in this coyote pack, as I call them, that allowed or caused workplace bullying. Bullying does occur still to this day. It's not just among children. And this was in a very high-end professional corporate America setting. And some of the players were older than me. And they just thought it was a great thing to target me and to try to make my life a living hell. And they kind of succeeded in a way, except that there was something they didn't know, they didn't understand, is that I walked close with Jesus and the Holy Spirit comforted me, counseled me, coached me, and led me day after day after day. They had no comprehension of that. And I won't give my story away, but I will tell you that it was even years, a few years after I was gone from that job. And I stayed 8 years. I want you to know I stayed 8 years because I loved my job. That was my favorite job I'd ever had in all my adult life. What I got to do every day for people, for patients, and in hospitals throughout several states was profound. It was powerful. And my customers didn't have any issues with me. They loved me. I was helping patients. My colleagues, my coworkers didn't have any issues with me. They respected me. They trusted me. They liked me. But I allowed 4 people who didn't, who were tight friends and who were very closely united, to rob me of a lot of joy. And I just will say, even though I knew how to walk close with the Lord and how to cast down imaginations and how to trust God and everything still every day, it did pummel me. And I found myself dealing with a lot of fear. And it was the last week I was at that, or the last 2 weeks I was at that company. My friend in Hawaii said, you know, I think you need to go to see some sozo ministers. I said, what's that? And she told me, and I very quickly made an appointment and I went. And there was no emotion in it. We just spent like 45 minutes or an hour together. And one of them said, I believe there's a spirit of fear attached to you. And they didn't even hear my story because I didn't have time to go into it. And I went, oh. And they said, I think it came on you as a girl. And I went, I know when it came on me. When I was 10 years old and I was bullied in 5th and 6th grade. And so we broke that spirit of fear off of me. It never came back. And I want y'all to know, I have not been afraid of domineering women. It's mostly been women, but any bully type, take charge, controlling, manipulative type women ever since. I encounter them. I'm polite and respectful, but I don't allow them into my inner court. I don't go sit at the table with them because I know I'm really not welcome, but I'm still gracious and respectful. So yeah, it was hard to write about this because the enemy was trying to tell me that if you write about this, they could really come back and band together and make this difficult on you. And Carmel just reassured me. She says, legally, we are watching out for all of our authors. We will not allow you to put anything in this book that could have any type of legal ramifications. Well, I knew I wasn't going to write anything that exposed anyone anyway, but that did comfort me when Carmel said that, because I knew I would have that second and third and fourth set of eyes looking out for me. So once I got going, once I finally committed, this is what I'm doing it on, because I felt like that's what the Lord kept saying, Stephanie, that I should write on. Once I was committed to the process and did it, I did it. But it was so beautiful, the little downloads that the Lord was giving me. And that's in there. It's things to do with my identity, things to do with, Scotland and Braveheart and being a Viking girl. And so there's some fun nuances interwoven that are really from deep within my heart and part of who I am. And I'm very tickled about that. And I just hope that it will help people, because I wish I would have had something like this to read when I was in the throes of all that. And I didn't even know that there had been anything written about workplace bullying or adult bullying. So I do hope that this will help set some captives free, at least by giving them some encouragement. And they're always welcome to reach out to me privately, and I'll pray with them and give them some wise counsel if they're open to it. So, because I know more now. In hindsight, I know better how I would have handled it if I could do it over again. But I don't want to do it over again.
No, nobody does. Folks, Doris and I did a podcast show earlier this year, and we were talking about classroom bullying and teachers and different things. So if you haven't heard that, it talked about forgiveness. And that's actually what inspired Doris to talk about with her story. And I added some of that happened to me when I was in 5th and 6th class. And for the last few months, folks, I have been friends. I have been doing a lot of looking at myself as well. And I wrote some of that in my chapter, Echoes of Hope. And I have been really cleaning out some of that, things that have been happening, and doing a lot of forgiving, moving forward, doing my self-care, making sure, because you will ask Stephanie, I can get so entrenched that I don't look after me first. And, our next book in the series is about self-care, and something that we were chatting about as well before we came on. Originally, we were talking about calling the book Moving from Brokenness to Freedom, and I had gone to bed with a migraine coming on, and I had the covers over my head, and the Holy Spirit started speaking to me, and he said to me, I want you to change the name of the book. And he gave me the name Courageous Voices Unlocked, and I went to Stephanie, and then we started to look what was out there. And there were books and there were courses called Unlocked and Courageous Voices. And what really blessed my heart is God doesn't just speak to me. He was speaking to everybody. He's talking about this subject. That, as we bring our courageous voice, as we bring our story, as we bring our authenticity to life, there are people who have got books out there called Unlocked. There are people out there who are talking about their authentic voices. There are people, folks, I still, with my dyslexia, every time I write courageous, I have to respell it. It's, it is just what I work through and live with, and I've had Stephanie correcting, with me repeating myself all the time, and how we go down that road. Shona, Robin and I have talked about that, and then having our new formatter this time, Melvise, going over everything and reading it all through and being that third pair of eyes for us. It's just been such a blessing. And she has her own story as well, where she's a ghostwriter and she's supporting other writers, and she has her dreams too with her own books like I do. So, folks, this is just the beginning, and in November we're going to have our magazine. So on that, I would like to invite Deanne to come and share a little bit about her story in Courageous Voices Unlocked. And I'm just so proud of Deanne. She has just come such a long way in the 2 years that we have connected in our books, The Artist Haven, Courageous Voices Unlocked. And Deanne, you hold a piece of my heart. And I remember when we started with The Artist Haven and we were in group together in Kingdom Builders Academy. And back then, God said to me, there's a connection, and you know, I knew that God, we needed to make that connection. And I feel so privileged to be your sister, to be, you know, your writing coach, and to be on this journey with you. So welcome, Deanne, today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's great to be on this journey with you too, as well, Carmel, and our third book together. And this, second one of you being the publisher, but and the visionary. But yes, it's been an amazing journey with you, and it's to get to know you and all of the authors and everything. My entire life, people have said, "You ought to write a book. You ought to write a book." Because I tell them little stories and like, wow, I would definitely read that. So I never knew that someday I would actually meet people and be able to write books and go to #1. So that's pretty amazing. But it definitely has a design and a purpose for it. And it's funny, as I was listening to Reese talk, although her story is completely different than the one that I wrote. I mean, the things that you were saying, I've been through that entire thing, and I didn't even realize that you were going, through that same thing, and I have yet to read the story, or anybody's, really, even my own, other than the proofreading, since we're just very busy with all the launching and stuff. But I can't wait to read everybody's and hear about that. But yeah, for me, it was just a little bit just talking about how in my lifetime there's been just different things that I've always wanted to try or just go out there and do. But somebody was always saying, do you really think you should? You think so? You think, yeah, and discouraging me, and and I would allow them, and so I would just eventually, and I have instead of telling one giant story, I told a few different stories, and the last one being something that is really personal and happened very recently in my life, and it's definitely something that would be for encouraging people, and I too, like Dory's saying, am not looking to expose anybody particularly, but the Lord did want me to tell my story and let people know that there are people that are going through similar things, and God has used us to bring it to light, and also given us courage, not just with just our personal relationships with him, but in each other, finding each other, telling a story, and just feeding off of that, and just we've become powerhouses. Many of us have been in these books together too, but just even the new, it's just we're a powerhouse, and God is using us in amazing ways, and I'm just so glad to have stumbled onto you, Carmel, that day when I was like, the Artist Haven, the last day to get in. And I'm like, really? This is the first I've heard of it. Please.
And God
And
knew,
yeah,
God knew. He ordained it
yeah,
all.
God. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. It's
So
been an
thank
amazing thing.
you.
But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And
it's
look,
great to be here.
my heart is so full, so full. And this is only some of our authors, but it's so lovely. Therese, who was in, this is the third book as well, or the second book for us that she's sharing her story in. She has just been fabulous, and her story is amazing, folks, and what she's been through and how she holds on to God. Amanda, we met through, I think, Stephanie, and she's a podcaster, and she has an amazing story where she's walked through her life, and God is her husband and her friend, and we have Catherine, who actually has been one of my clients and my friend for more than 30 years. And she shares her story about self-care. And, everybody's got a different story, but all of the stories line up. They all connect into my heart and what the vision God has given me. And I would like to now invite my beautiful friend Shona Robin to come up and share about her story. Shona Robin and I have known each other for more than 30 years. We connected in a local church that I still go to. And I'm just so proud of Shona Robin. This is the first time she has written her story, and she's just doing so well. Stephanie will say yes as well, and everybody else. Welcome, Shona.
Thank you so much. This is so much fun. And I've been loving the connectedness, and particularly when we do get together and get that little bit of extra insight into each person's story and some of the insight, wisdom behind it, which it is. It's wisdom surfacing that it's time that these stories were shared. So I think one of the fun things I've really enjoyed, you know, the launch, and it happened on my birthday, everyone, so I was pretty happy about that. But one of the fun things for me that kept surfacing was Carmel kept asking for nice photos, sort of portrait photos, professional photos. And my favorite photos all come from my walking across Spain, which is a pilgrimage walk, guys. It's 800 kilometers. You start on the French side of the Pyrenees, and you go over the Pyrenees, you go to Pamplona, and you walk across Spain. 6 weeks the first time. I took 3 months the second time, and about 3 months the third. So that was 2014, 2018, 2019. And so the photos I have, I'm in full trekking clothes with buff and hat and backpack, covered in snow, drenched in pouring rain. And it's like, oh, not sure that I'm going to find the photo that you're looking at, you're seeking. And it took my daughter and I, yes, of course we found them. Of course we found them. We'd had opportunities. But my heart lies on the Camino photos. Camino, Santiago de Compostela. 800 kilometers of walking across Spain. And it's a passion for me. And the photos are a significant reminder of that walk. So the Camino never leaves you. And the Camino is totally symbolic of life. The mountains, the valleys, the sleet, the cold, whatever, hills, valleys, and whatever. And so when I found a way to use my Camino photos to promote Courageous Voices Unlocked, that was very special for me. And I'll release a few more because it's the fun thing, but it worked. For me, it absolutely worked because it fitted with the cover and it fitted with the words. And if I come back to my story and what that means, the bottom line is my life has actually been, my core self has been very much filled with fear from my growing up days, which were pretty brutal. Nobody's fault. I've got my mother. I understand how these things happened and why it happened. But that took into my adulthood to work out her story and be absolutely gutted for her and on her behalf of what she had been through, because they never discussed it with you. And so I kept using the words that I was out there. I was an adventurer. My whole life was spent just seeking that outdoor life, the wind in my face, because it separated me from the pain in the household. So my childhood, God blessed me with mountains and fresh air, and I could leave the house. I walked those dogs 7 o'clock every morning to walk away from the pain that was going, the anger that was going on in the house, and particularly as it was targeting me. And I had, terrible social skills, terrified, no voice, the invisible person. And that changed. The Camino, being out there, gave me a sense of self and gave me quality life. And also enabled me to go back and look at what I needed to look at. So that on its own, the next book's going to be a ripper. I cannot sugarcoat adoption because it was such a harsh journey, but it's my journey and it's a unique journey. And I have a story to tell. And I utterly and absolutely love that I have those photos which show it externally. And I have the core self, the authentic self, that's very quietly and gently actually surfacing that it's okay to share the story. And someone's going to benefit. People are going to benefit from the sharing of these stories. And I just love that the Camino never leaves you, and neither does God, because only the hand of God could surely have orchestrated my life and those outdoors and the healing that went with it. That's where I'm coming from. So, and my first words, I found fun in it. Oh, and celebration, guys. I have learned to celebrate. I've had a week of celebrating my birthday, and the celebrations continue.
Oh, Shona, that's so beautiful. And just as we're wrapping up, I just want to thank you, Melvise, from the bottom of my heart for stepping in and becoming our formatter, our second eyes as the editor, as well as helping me get the book on Ingram Spark and out there in the world. You have been such a blessing to our team. And when we got the Artist Haven out, I spent 3 months to get it in Australia at a good price. And Melvise has stepped in and she has helped me do all that. And it's already all done on our celebration day. So thank you so much, Melvise, for everything that you have done and you are doing. And folks, you can buy our book with her. You can get it through Amazon. You can get it through me. You can get it through Barnes and Noble. There'll be other Australian sites. I'll have it in local stores. I'm looking at Kurong as well. So, this series is such a blessing, Journey to Wholeness. And as you can see, folks, just from some of the hearts of what people who have been sharing their stories here, they are so courageous. And I feel incredibly blessed, that, I'm writing my own book as well through my eyes and doing my kids' book too. But I put that time aside for these co-author books because I believe that this is the call as a wholeness coach, that God has called me to help empower women, to help empower creatives. And Tim was our beautiful male in the Artist Haven. And to have, now I've got 24 stories that have come together in 2 years. And this is only the beginning, and I feel incredibly blessed. So thank you, everybody, for coming and tuning in. And we are just celebrating each other, all of our authors. Please forgive me if I've forgotten anybody. Have I mentioned everyone in the last minute as we finish off? Stephanie and
Cindy and Nick.
Cindy and Nick, yes, thank you. So Cindy is one of our beautiful American authors, first-time creative, and she has written an amazing story about faith in her life. And Nick is a beautiful Australian lady, and her story is full of courage and grace and love. And let me tell you, folks, it's like, what child have I missed? Who have I missed? And I count everybody up. And it's like, here I am with my heart is full with all of my beautiful authors and all of their stories and my beautiful team who God has put around me. And I just thank each and every one of you for coming on this journey with me. And let's just celebrate together, and how wonderful that we did it on Shona Robbins' birthday. It came out, and thank you, everybody. I love each one of you with all of my heart. God bless for now, and thank you for tuning in to our celebration of Courageous Voices Unlocked.